And still to come, on the eve of the 80th anniversary of VJ Day, we commemorate the end of the Second World War. King Charles has recorded a message to be released tomorrow marking the 80th anniversary of the Allied victory over Japan, which brought to a close the Second World War. He says the heroes of that time gave us more than freedom. They left us the example of how it can and must be protected. All this week, we've been talking to veterans and civilians about their reflections of the conflict, and right to the very end, British and Commonwealth troops were fighting in the brutal Far East campaign. Because they were so far away from Europe and the Nazis, they've often been referred to as the Forgotten Army. Here's Fergal Keane.
It was fought in far places by an army from across the empire. They set out with no idea of what awaited them.
Astern of us was a battalion of the Scots Guards, I think it was. And all the troops there burst into cheers. Young people didn't know what war was about.
By the time it ended, the survivors had learned about loss and comradeship.
I think that the comradeship was more intense at Kohima. You were more together. There was two of you in the trench, and you never let your mate down.
With the tanks go the infantry, British, Indian and African.
This multinational army went to fight a fanatical enemy.
When he gets you, he will kill you. And their mentality is to kill and go to heaven. There was blood everywhere. It was a terrible sight. It's not good for human eyes.
They battled on in remote jungles after the European war had ended, calling themselves the Forgotten Army. Here in Burma, Indian, African, British turned defeat into victory. The Arakan, Kohima, Imphal, a roll call of sacrifice. It's hard to think of a war in history that hasn't had unintended consequences or sown the seeds of future conflict. The war in the Far East did all of that. It ushered in the end of the age of empire and shaped profoundly the world in which we live today.
Japan has today surrendered.
The Empire of Japan was defeated. British, French and Dutch empires would soon disappear, replaced by new superpowers.
We see the growth of China in its sense of self, and we see the growth of America to emerge to become this massive global power broker. You really can trace all of the contemporary dynamics of the world and all the power relationships of the world back to the legacy of what happened in the Second World War and in its immediate aftermath.
Fleeing from their looted, blood-stained towns comes a new exodus, 1 million displaced persons.
But for millions, the new world was born in bloodshed. As the new nations of India and Pakistan came into being, soldiers who'd fought together against Japan in Burma faced each other on new battle lines, in a conflict that still threatens the peace of the region. 8 decades on, for 105-year-old Merin Au, the war's legacy is the memory of simply trying to survive from moment to moment. At his home, 1,300 miles from Delhi, he's one of the last survivors of a famous victory at Kohima in northeast India.
When I think about it now, the life we had was inexplicable. What more can I say? We had sleepless nights. Our guns had to be with us all the time. While we slept, even while sitting around, we never kept them aside. We were always on the alert, ready for war. The guns always had to be with us, sticking to us, even when we slept.
Hello, Mum and Dad. Hope you can recognise me with this Burma suntan of mine.
It was a war that also brought British troops' faces and voices to the home front for the first time.
And between you and me, darling, it won't be long now.
But none of the horror here, only defiantly cheerful messages.
Cheerio for now. God bless you all and keep smiling. Get cracking, Ginger.
Peace has once again come to the world.
There was rejoicing at the end, but also weariness. And away from the singing crowds, in silent houses, remembering of those who did not return. Fergal Keane, BBC News.
Time for all the weather news now. Here's Darren. Hi there.